quality over quantity.
So hello everyone and welcome to an All Blaze No Glory special with a couple of Bandy players in Vicky, Carson and Beth, Milne. So I'll start off with you, Vicky. How are you doing? Good Christmas?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, it was a good Christmas. Yeah, just been with the family, so.
Good.
Yep.
And what about
Did you have a good Christmas? No?
Oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
I said, did you have a good Christmas?
I did, but this show's not about me. I'm just the host. I'm just trying to get your information. And Beth, how did you get on at Christmas? Did you have a good Christmas?
Yeah, great Christmas. I came back up to 5, so it's currently at the parents, so it's nice to be back up north.
Cool. Right, so the reason I got you both on is, interestingly, I've coached both of you in ice hockey. Coaching Vicky, sorry about that. But the two of you in November went to a Bandy camp, the first for Team GB Bandy. So I think you're both going to give me the same answer, but I'll just throw it out there. How did you both find out about the Team GB Bandy team?
Beth, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'm going to answer both of us. So we found out through a player we previously played with at GB Universities for Ice, so Monica. I found out personally through the Facebook post, and I got in contact with her and to see if there are still gaps available on the team. And she introduced me to the coach, Tom. I think his last name is Parker, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she introduced Vicky and I both to the coach, and we had like individual conversations with Tom where he kind of ascertained our character, kind of our background history as well for hockey, and then after that we found out if we were on the team or not.
Cool. And so Vicky, you obviously found out through Monica as well. I'm presuming that's how most of the people I know find out about it. What are the main differences between bandy and ice hockey for anyone that's not familiar with the sport?
A bandy rink is massive. That is probably like the main. There is quite a lot of differences, to be fair, but yeah, it's played on the ice usually the size of a football pitch. Sometimes it's like a couple meters difference here or there, but generally the size of a football pitch, which is pretty different compared to an ice hockey rink. The sticks are shorter as well, and you play with a ball, not a puck, and it's non-contact, so you have to be a little bit more skillful about trying to get the ball off someone rather than just skating into them. But yeah, that's the main differences. They've got different skates as well. If you're a proper bandy player, they play with slightly different skates. So yeah,
their blades are a lot longer. It's kind of more like a speed skate, so to speak. Their games are also a lot longer, so they play 90 minutes, so usually 2:45s.
Oh, right, okay.
And it's so you can have changes, but most of the time bandy players don't change on the fly like you do on ice.
Yeah, you still change. When you change, it's on the fly. Like, you don't have to wait for a whistle or like whatever. You don't have to like call, I don't know what they do in football, like the refs or whatever, but you still change on the fly, but it's not as much. So you, like, if you were on the starting, what's the word?
Team?
Yeah, if you're on the starting lineup, if you're in the starting lineup, like, you would play most of the first half, or like most of it. You don't like get off for a rest. So
okay, and is it the size of teams that are on the ice at any one time, is that different, or is it's not still 5 aside presumably on that size ice?
No, so it's I think it's about 11 on
it's
at
11
one time. Yeah.
Okay, and so obviously I know I coached you both a little bit. Vicky, you're currently normally play centre when you play ice hockey, a bit on the wing sometimes. Beth, you sort of just hear about like the Bugs Bunny of the ice hockey world. What positions are you guys playing in Bandy, or have you not found that out yet? So Vicky, what about you? What position are you playing in Bandy?
Yeah, so the positions in Bandy are much like football. So you have like a striker, like midfield, and things like that. But yeah, I've been playing kind of like midfielder, like wing on the wing as well. It's not really set yet, because we have when we went to Sweden, it was the first time that we played on the big ice. So it was the first time that we really actually discussed positions and things like that. So we were kind of just trying out what we kind of thought we'd be good at. And yeah, so I kind of been playing midfielder, or like, because Beth kind of played on the back wing.
Yeah, so I'm playing left back.
Yeah, and I was more kind of up front wing.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird situation, because obviously if you're playing ice hockey, you have your set forwards and set defenders, whereas in Bandy there's different levels of defenders and different levels of forwards. So you can have forwards who are all the way down at the opposite end near the opposition's goal, and then you can have forwards who are more midfield as well. Same with your defense.
Okay.
Yeah, because offside is much the same as it's the same as football. So you can be in the zone as long as their team are as well. So it's like you don't have to gain the blue line or anything like that. It's just the same offside rule as football.
Okay, so if you, I suppose, are ahead of their defenders before the ball's played, that would be kind of offside, similar to football? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
God, that must be hard to keep up with people on skates as a touch judge or whatever. Now, one of the things I was going to ask is, do some of the teams, you might not know this, but do some of the teams play different formations and stuff then if there's 11 aside, or is it all much fixed 4-4-2 or whatever?
I think other teams definitely can play different formations. I think some of the core positions are still very much the same in terms of number of people, I think, but I think different countries make that up depending on kind of their team skill level.
Cool.
Yeah. I know that they do change it up, especially like sometimes we have like a set formation if we have to be, if we're defending, like we do have like a set play that we go into, like a formation that we should be trying to keep when we're defending or when we're attacking. Like we've been told kind of where we should be, and like different teams have different strategies for that as well. So yeah, they change it up.
Cool. And just about the stick, Vicky, obviously was something said about your back and stuff, but what's the difference in height of the stick and things like that?
Yeah, I don't really know where that came from, but it is different. So you are like, I feel like you're skating a lot faster because you're so much, like, you bend your knees so much more. Because the stick is like, obviously an ice hockey stick when you're in skates comes up to like your chin. But this is like the size of a field hockey stick, so it's kind of like your hip height, if not a little bit taller. So you really do have to get properly like close down to the ice, which I quite like it actually. I feel like I've gotten used to it now, but when we were in Sweden it was like quite tricky to get the hang of it for a while.
Mm-hmm. And the stick itself, man, Beth, is it kind of like a shinty stick as opposed to a sort of field hockey stick? Is it flat on both sides?
I would definitely say it's a lot closer to a shinty stick. So unlike a field hockey stick, it's completely flat on both sides of the blade, and also the curve of the blade is actually quite long.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you went to this camp for the first time, had you been practicing on just normal ice rinks before that? Is that what had been happening?
Yeah. So we're practicing over in Sheffield on just one of their standard ice pads. So right. It was really kind of a big shock. Like, we knew the Bandy pitch was going to be big, but I don't think we actually fully understood like how big it was going to be.
Yeah, walking into the rink for the first time, it was like, oh, it really is that big. Like, I feel like, yeah, we'd been training in Ice Sheffield. I think the hard thing as well was one of the days we trained on small ice, just for some extra ice time, because where we were, it had an ice rink and a bandy rink. So we did one training on the ice rink, and it felt like we all just started playing more ice hockey style rather than bandy style. So it was quite hard kind of differentiating when you're on the small ice. It's quite hard to not just go like sink into hockey habits, which is quite weird.
Yeah, exactly. And then what threw me the most was like in Bandy they don't have barriers. Like they have very minimal barriers, like that come up to your ankles, but that's it. So when we, as Vicky said, when we went to the ice rink, I found myself reverting to like using the boards, even though that's something you can't do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. So obviously, I've seen a little bit of bandy during I think it was the last WUGs that actually took place, where they didn't seem to have any barrier at all. Is it kind of like football? If the ball goes out, it's a sort of hitting to the other team, or
yeah, what they call it is a free stroke. So if you hit it out, it's the other teams and vice versa.
Okay.
They also have penalty corners as well, like you would in field hockey. So it's kind of crosses over a bit more into kind of field hockey rules, I think. I've never actually played field hockey.
There is like a really small barrier at the side. It's probably like but only on the sides. There's absolutely nothing on the back, just like the back line. But on the sides there's like a little kind of lip that's like this big. So you can kind of like, the ball can hit it, but not very hard because it'll just go over it if it hits it quite hard. So there's no like chip and chase really.
Right.
You can try, but not really.
Okay. And the goals themselves, are the goals, I get the impression they're bigger from what I've seen, but is that your eyes just...
Yeah, so I think they're about field hockey size goals. They're a lot taller than what we're used to. So if you can hit the ball hard, and it feels like it could be a goal almost every time, in a sense.
Okay. And shooting, is that a bit different? I mean, you've got obviously the smaller stick with a flat surface. Is it kind of more like a golf stroke type thing, or can you still sort of wrist shot it and things?
Definitely, I don't think, not wrist shots, I don't think.
It has a technique that if you get it, you've got it, like it's good. But it's quite I found myself struggling a little bit with, I couldn't actually remember what way I was shooting in ice hockey, because like you can shoot from either side. So like, because the stick's flat, like you can shoot either way around. And I was getting a bit confused because I felt like I was getting it one way, but not the other. So I did practice like shooting from both sides. And one way my accuracy was okay, like was better than the other, but I couldn't get it off the ground. And the other way around, I was getting quite a lot of power, but there was absolutely no telling where it was going to go. So that's something that I definitely need to practice, and I've tried to practice a bit over Christmas. But yeah, the technique is tricky to get, but you can try and slap shot it or whatever, but it doesn't really work.
So
it's like golf with how you have to hit it, where it's like you just kind of, in a sense, you kind of have to scoop the stick a little bit underneath the ball before you actually hit. You can't just hit the ice. I learned that one the hard way, because the first couple of times I was shooting, I broke my stick because I was slamming on the ice like I would if I was just doing conventional slap shot.
Yeah, we've got a girl on the team who absolutely wrecked the bottom of her stick, and I was not far from that either, from just hitting the ice before the ball. So that definitely took some, like, you had to properly think to kind of get used to it, but we got there eventually. And
then the shock when you came back to the UK to play ice hockey, you're like, oh my goodness, the puck is so much heavier than I remember.
Yeah. Well, I still had a bandy sharpen on my skates when I got back, so
the bandy sharpen is a very shallow sharpen, so there's no edge.
Yeah, so that so presume enables you to skate faster in a straighter line.
Yeah. So
theoretically, you should skate faster.
Yeah, I think the main thing with bandy blades is, so you can play on ice hockey blades. It's just bandy blades make it slightly less effort on your part because you can just glide further for a bit longer. And then the main thing I found when we were out playing Bandy is that you actually never stop standing. You never stand still. You're always in a continuous motion. So even if you are going really slowly, you're kind of continuously circling, and then you're doing a sudden burst of speed.
I mean, in theory, that's what should be happening in ice hockey, but it doesn't always go that way. And in terms of, I mean, this is a tough question to answer, I suppose, in case your ice hockey coach is here. But do you have a preference? Do you prefer bandy or ice hockey, or is it just kind of like I like both of them, and the bandy's a bit new?
No, I think like they both are different enough to each other that you can't properly compare them. Like you can, but they are like different enough to each other that it's kind of like they both have their own like pros and they both have their own cons. I think like I definitely, like, after I came off the first session of bandy, I honestly was like, that was so much fun. Like I obviously come off all of your sessions thinking the same, Rambo, but but no, I definitely, like, I do really enjoy playing bandy. Like it is something that I think that I could love as much as ice hockey. I think I think they're probably both on par.
Beth, what about you? Do you have a preference?
No, I completely agree with Vicky. It's they're so completely different. Like they have completely different mindsets. It's like it's different tactics. Like you can see some elements where they cross over, but ultimately they are kind of completely different things, and they're both fun in equal senses.
Yeah, cool. I was going to ask in terms of energy levels and stuff. Obviously, ice hockey, you're supposed to be 35 seconds to a minute tops kind of thing for your shifts. It doesn't always happen that way, but is it more a sort of endurance thing with bandy as opposed to ice hockey? It's all about your aerobic energy and all this stuff. I'm not going to try and pretend that I'm any good at this sort of stuff, but is it more endurance based then with bandy?
Yeah, definitely more endurance based. Like most of the bandy team, we've spent the last couple of months really building up cardio because, as I said, the game times are a lot longer, and even though you can change, the changes aren't as frequent.
Yeah, and with ice hockey, obviously you get a rest. You get to sit on the bench, watch the game a little bit. Whereas bandy, you do have to keep going. You have to pick your moments a bit better. Like I feel like with ice hockey, I would want to go for every puck that I can, or that was sensible to do so. Like I would want to just the time that I'm on the ice, I'm like absolutely skating my arse off. I'd like to think so. So that's what you should be doing. But with bandy,
no one
you need to be moving around.
Spend 45 minutes.
Yeah, but you need to pick your moments a bit better. But then because it's a bigger rink, the ball's not always going to be really close to you. So you need to be like looking for your spaces and picking your moments that you're going to have your burst of energy.
And presumably it's a lot harder to see the sort of, since your name came up recently, the sort of Kendall van der Veen coast to coast things isn't going to happen as much because you'll probably pass out trying to skate that fast for that long, I would imagine.
Yeah, we did a full ice drill, didn't we? On like the last day, and we had to skate a lap like in the drill, and it was pretty surprising how quickly I tired out, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. I was lucky enough. I got a chance to actually wear the bandy skates while I was out there. Again, it's much less work than if you're just wearing regular player blades. But yeah, you can also, I don't know about you, Vicky, but I found it really strange how quickly you could go around the bandy rink. It's actually less time than what you'd think. But we were continuously doing lap after lap, and I've only did it for about 10 minutes. I think we're all just so tired by the end.
Yeah, it was good though, to get an actual feel of just how big it is, and not just like being in your zone or whatever. It was quite good. Yeah.
Cool. And have you guys, have you properly bought into it? Have you been looking up the histories of bandy and all that sort of stuff? I mean, I was doing a bit of it today. I discovered that the first Cambridge-Oxford varsity match was a bandy match, which was kind of interesting to me. It wasn't ice hockey. But if you sort of been sort of trying to watch any games online, or I mean, how accessible is the sport if you want to watch it?
I mean, it's fairly accessible. I mean, it's most popular in Sweden and Scandinavia, so as long as you don't mind watching the games in Swedish, then they're pretty easy to come by on YouTube and such.
Yeah, I think the first time that I'd actually heard about bandy was obviously like this opportunity. And on the phone call, Tom gave us a bit of a background history and like why we were setting another team, like why we were setting up a team again, and like why the UK wanted to get involved and stuff like that. And yeah, it's pretty interesting, but it is a shame that obviously it doesn't happen here. But I think rinks the size of football pitches are obviously quite expensive and hard to come by, and even from people we met when we were in Sweden, a lot of them are outdoor rinks, so they only play the rinks only got done like a week after we left Sweden, I think.
Yeah, November, and then they're done by about start of March, so really they only have a season that's 3 months long.
Yeah. One of the things I was reading about was rink ball, I think it's called, or rink bandy, where essentially you play, it's like 5-a-sides, but it's with all the bandy equipment. Do you think that would be something that in the UK potentially would have legs and perhaps would feed into a wider bandy squad, potentially?
I mean, potentially it'd be an easier transition with our current rink setups in the UK than the full-size version with the football pitch.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, and also there's a fair bit of crossover between bandy kit and then ice hockey kit as well. So if you had one, then in theory you could slowly kind of transition over to the other.
Yeah.
What's the
I'd like to think.
then?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Vicky, I've interrupted you there. What were you saying?
No, I was just going to say I'd like to think that kind of after we come back and like get a bit more exposure, that we'll have like more people that are interested in taking it up.
No, that's the hope, because I mean, even though I know that people will look at from ice hockey circles as something that will take away from them, it's something that's crossover. It's crossover skills that gets more kids involved. It could be something we do in the summer here with ice rinks that are still open, and essentially, if you like bandy, you probably like ice hockey, so you might do both, or you might go to elite league games and throw your money at Nottingham Panthers and all the rest of it. So it seems to me like it's pretty sensible that they should want to promote it. Sorry, I was going to say, what's the difference between the sort of ice hockey kit and the bandy kit? Obviously, you mentioned that you can get different bandy skates for the size of the rink. What else is sort of different?
So I'll start with skates. So obviously blades are bigger. There's also no back piece to the skate, so there's full ankle flexibility. Mm-hmm. Apart from that, I would say bandy kit is actually really just a really slimmed down version of ice hockey kit. So we still have leg guards, we still have the socks go over. We don't have shorts. Instead, what we have is a kind of a really close fitting girdle, which you kind of put a pair of trousers over the top of. And then smaller elbow pads, more flexible gloves that allow kind of a more kind of range of movement, I would say. And probably the biggest difference is we don't wear a chest piece at all. Yeah,
we just have to, and neck guards are compulsory.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's interesting. You've got slightly less padding elsewhere, but your neck guards are compulsory. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I
think it's something to do with how we swing sticks. It's just more likely to come across.
Pop you in the neck, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that the warden Isla would like to see that brought in in ice hockey as well. So she's probably quite pleased to hear that. So because time's marching on, what's the deal with Worlds? I know they were meant to be in January, but they've been pushed back to March. Where are they taking place?
We don't actually know,
Yeah, originally we were meant to be taking place in a town just kind of south of Stockholm. However, that was going to be, by the looks of it, on an outdoors rink. Since we're now going at the end of March, there won't be any outdoors rinks just because it's a bit too hot for them. So I think they're currently looking at a few different locations for us for indoor rinks.
Okay, and the place you went to in November, that was an indoor rink, was it?
Yeah, so we were in Västerås in November, and that was indoor. And sorry, I was about to say we had an outdoor. We passed an outdoor on the way, I think, or something like that.
We were in Katrineholm.
Right. Okay. So obviously it's quite big in Sweden. So is it likely the Worlds will take place in Sweden?
Yes, I think so. We don't really know that much. We've just been told, they are hoping to have them in Sweden, and they'll be the end of March. That's kind of it. But I think there's a problem with the outdoor rinks in Stockholm or near Stockholm, so they're just trying to find somewhere that we can do it.
That's exciting.
I think
exciting stuff to go. And what other countries are normally there? Obviously Sweden. What other European countries is the sport big in?
Norway as well.
Yeah, hold on, I've got a list of the teams that we were supposed to be playing. I don't know if we're allowed to tell people. Are we allowed to tell people?
I think people know what group we're meant to be in.
Oh yeah.
So there's two groups. Group A, yeah, go on.
We were playing Switzerland, the Netherlands, Ukraine, and Estonia.
Right, okay.
And then Group A was your likes of Norway, Sweden, USA, Canada.
Yeah, and Russia.
And there was a fifth. Russia, yeah.
Was it Russia? I think so. I'm not
Let's
sure.
say Russia for now.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be pretty interesting. So it seems to be quite European based with maybe, Canada do every sport imaginable, including broomball, which is utterly bizarre. But so the two of you, obviously you've now, hopefully pick up your caps with Bandy, all things being equal, and you've got GBU caps for ice hockey, and you've got GB ball hockey caps. So what's next for you guys? What's next for you, Vicky? Are you looking to go and travel to Quebec and play ringette, or what's next?
I don't know. I'm just waiting for another call from another obscure sport to be like, do you want to come and play? No, just I don't know. The Bandy was just something that, it came up and someone was just like, yeah, you'd be good for the team. And I just thought, why not? It's like I'm practicing my skating and stick handling as well, like a bit more. So I think as well, while I'm still a student, I feel like I should just get as much done as I can before I get a job. So I'm just saying yes to most sporting questions this year.
And what about you, Beth? Have you got any other crazy sports that you are thinking of trying?
I mean, if we go by my track record, I'm doing a new obscure sport most years. So I don't know, just wait and see what happens.
Cool. Well, that's Zoom just told me we've got 9.5 minutes left, so I'll not blather too much. But what's your plans for New Year? In terms of, obviously you've got your Bandy Worlds, we hope. What's your plans, sort of sports-wise, ice hockey-wise, beyond that? I'll go to you first, Beth, because Vicky will maybe need to think carefully about this since I'm her coach just now. I'm only kidding.
In terms of ice hockey plans, so I'm still down playing with Storm in London, and we've had a pretty good kickoff to the elite season so far. So I think the plan for us is to, I guess touch a piece of wood right now, is hopefully make our way up to the top of the points boards and to make playoffs this year. Cool.
And just quickly before I go on to Vicky, you hooked up with Isabel Whiteley again, that magical line from GBU. You guys in the same squad still?
Yeah, she is the assistant captain of Storm. She was literally, when I moved down to London, she was the only person I knew. and she hooked me into Stratton Storm. So now I know a lot of people, and yeah, so it's a really great team. But no, we don't actually play on the line anymore. I've gone back to playing in defense, and she is centre.
Cool.
And also we're missing Monica.
Oh, well, there's that too. Yeah, so
Yeah, there's that too. There's a third person we're missing.
Yeah, the third infinity stone of that line, I guess. And Vicky, what about you? Obviously, there's some Steel Queen stuff coming up and that, but what's your sort of sporting adventure next year beyond Bandy?
Well, I'm still playing netball for the uni team. The captain of that team, which has been a nice end to my uni year because I'm in 4th year now, so this is my last year. So I've got a few bits and bobs with netball. So I'm looking forward to playing my last few games with them and saying goodbye to Harriet Watt. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the Steel Queens games. Hopefully get some nationals this year, because everybody's been missing those the past couple of years. So get a nice end of the year with the uni nationals. I'm hoping to make it onto the GB ball team again, because they've got Worlds in Montreal this year, in June.
Nice.
So hoping that I can show that I've been putting in effort with my Edinburgh team, and yeah, hopefully I'll make it onto that and get a wee trip to Montreal. But yeah, that's kind of it. That
sounds nice and sounds very ambitious, and hope you do get to go to Montreal, because I've heard it's cracking, and so yeah, that sounds awesome. So thank you both for your time. I normally do this in the BIHA podcast with Nick, but when I'm interviewing people, but since we're on with normal BIHA people, is there anyone you'd like to give a big shout out to, Beth, for this interview?
I don't know. I know I'm being caught off guard. Hi, just people.
That's fair enough. That's
I'm just gonna I'm gonna choose the option to panic and just say hi to everyone.
Oh,
yeah.
No. And Vicky, what about you?
Just want to say thanks to all the Bandy girls, and Claire and Tom for getting us on the team and getting us away to Sweden. Yeah.
Can I just say what Vicky said as well? Honestly, the amount of work the coaches put into Tom, is outstanding. Like, he's literally pulled us from everywhere.
Yeah, and to be fair, we haven't mentioned our goalie Gemma, because she did a great transition from ice goalie to Bandy goalie. So yeah, that was a great job. Also, I just want to put in the request now that I don't want to share a room with Ashlyn Rafter when we go away. So just putting that out there.
Is there any particular reason, or just going to leave?
No, I think she said that
roommate.
last time she was on a podcast, so I'm just getting her back.
Right. Okay. Well, that's great, and thank you both for your time. Hopefully, I'll get some more of hopefully have some more interviews with Ashlyn. The aforementioned Ashlyn, Amy Thorpe, is lined up to come on, and maybe we'll even maybe I'll be able to tie up with your coach Tom and chat to him about how he got the whole thing started, because I mean, it was hard enough starting the Steel Queens, which are based in Scotland and not going around the country, not going around Europe, but to start something like this is incredible. So fair play to him, and I wish you guys all the best in your worlds.
Thank you.
Thank you.